May 24th here in Seoul, and I'm Kim Dami. We begin with these stories making the headlines at this hour. Starting with South Korea taking on the rotating presidency of the UN Security Council. For the first time in a decade, Seoul will hold the presidency for 1 month in June. South Korea is expected to push for discussions on cybersecurity, especially against growing threats coming from North Korea. Leaders of South Korea, Japan, and China are holding their first summit in 4.5 years in the coming week here in Seoul. The presidential office is hopeful of restoring trilateral cooperation. The South Korean government's push for the expansion of the medical school admissions quota will be finalized later today, marking the first such hike in nearly 30 years. South Korea is taking on the rotating presidency of the UN Security Council next month for the first time in 10 years. Seoul is set to push for public discussions on cybersecurity, a topic that hasn't been covered by the official UNSC agenda previously. Lee Seung-jae has more.
For the first time in a decade, South Korea is set to hold the rotating presidency of the UN Security Council next month. South Korea, which is a non-permanent UNSC member, will chair the council for 1 month as the council's 15 member states rotate on a monthly basis. During a press meeting, Seoul's top envoy to the UN, Hwang Jun-guk, said undertaking the presidency is an important role in coordinating the UNSC agenda, adding that South Korea will be ready to convene a UNSC meeting in the event of a provocation by North Korea. Hwang emphasized that the role of the chairing country is important as it affects the direction of discussions on key global issues and international opinion. During its month-long presidency, South Korea will seek to hold high-level public discussions on the topic of cybersecurity. Seoul has been heavily focused on such issues due to evolving threats by Pyongyang in the security domain. For this, Foreign Minister Cho Tae-yeol plans to preside over the session. South Korea's top envoy to the UN stressed that malicious cyber activities on key infrastructure and theft of civilian data and cryptocurrency are threats that all countries face. Hwang added that despite the importance of cybersecurity, the topic has not been dealt with as an official UNSC agenda. Seoul also plans to hold public discussions under the theme Child and Armed Conflicts at the request of the UN Secretariat. The ambassador expressed his hope that South Korea's presidency will contribute to the nation's push to expand its diplomatic horizons and emerge as a global pivotal state. Lee Seung-jae, Arirang News.
The leaders of South Korea, Japan, and China will gather for the first time in more than 4 years on Monday here in Seoul. A meeting that Seoul's top office believes will serve as a turning point to bring their relations back to normal. Our senior correspondent, Oh Seong, reports.
South Korea, Japan, and China will hold their first trilateral summit in over 4 years, with the aim of fully restoring and normalizing their three-way cooperation on trade, climate response, and interpersonal exchanges. Kim Tae-yeol, South Korea's principal deputy national security advisor on Thursday, said President Yoon will hold three-way talks on Monday with Prime Minister Fumio Kishida and Chinese Premier Li Qiang. The three are expected to focus on 6 main areas of cooperation, including people-to-people exchanges, climate change and sustainable development, health and aging demographics, as well as science and technology and disaster and safety response. According to a presidential official, their talks will be concluded with a joint statement, with Yoon, Kishida and Qiang possibly holding a joint press conference.
The Trilateral Summit will serve as a turning point to completely restore and normalize the three-way cooperation system. It will also serve as an opportunity to secure momentum for future-orientated and practical cooperation that will benefit the people of the three countries.
The three-way talks, stalled since December 2019, come amid strained relations over a number of bilateral disputes, on top of tensions in the Indo-Pacific region as the United States and China engage in geopolitical competition. After South Korea and Japan took major steps to patch up their differences last year and restored bilateral trade and security ties, Seoul has been pushing to revive their three-way talks with Beijing. While Yoon, Kishida and Qiang will also discuss regional issues and ways to respond to complex global crises, a presidential official told reporters they are unlikely to focus on contentious issues. These include North Korea's weapons cooperation with Russia and the possibility of Seoul and Tokyo joining the Security Pact by Australia, the United Kingdom and the US. Before the highly anticipated talks, the South Korean leader will hold separate summits with his counterparts on Sunday afternoon before a welcoming banquet. Yoon and Chang will discuss strengthening strategic communication after months-long tension between the two countries, along with trade, investment and cultural ties. With Kishida, Yoon will address Korean Peninsular affairs, as well as regional and global issues, as well as their trilateral cooperation with the United States. Observers believe bilateral tensions over messenger app Line may also be raised. Under the mantra of South Korea, Japan, China plus X, Yoon's office says the three countries will aim to expand their scope of cooperation beyond Northeast Asia to the wider Indo-Pacific, as well as the global level. Oh Seong, Arirang News.
And following the trilateral meeting, President Yoon will also be hosting UAE's president and dozens of leaders from Africa for a broader cooperation with Korea. Now, Korea-Africa Summit will be Yoon's biggest multilateral summit. Our Kim Do-yeon has the details.
It's set to be the biggest welcoming ceremony hosted by President Yoon Suk-yeol. Next Tuesday, the President of the United Arab Emirates, Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan, will arrive in Seoul for a two-day state visit, the first by a UAE president. According to the top office on Thursday, it'll include a Black Eagle air show, more than 600 military personnel, and 160 children.
When President Yoon Suk-yeol and his spouse made a state visit to the UAE in January last year, they were given a grand welcome at an official presidential welcoming ceremony with a large cavalry and camel troops lined up. Similarly, on May 28, when the UAE president enters Korean airspace, we will also mobilize the highest level of courtesy and conduct various official welcoming ceremonies.
There will be various diplomatic events on top of an official summit at the Yongsan presidential office on Wednesday. The two countries have long enjoyed good cooperation, with the UAE being South Korea's only special strategic partnership country in the Middle East. In fact, during President Yoon's state visit to Abu Dhabi last year's January, the UAE pledged a $30 billion investment into South Korea.
The leaders of both countries plan to discuss concrete measures to elevate their cooperation to a higher level in the four key areas established during President Yoon's state visit to the UAE in January last year: traditional energy and clean energy, peaceful nuclear energy, economy and investment, and defense technology.
This state visit is highly anticipated. It was supposed to happen last October, but due to Hamas' surprise attack on Israel causing uncertainties in the Middle East, the UAE postponed. In the meantime, the upcoming Korea-Africa Summit, which will follow the UAE Summit, will be the biggest multilateral summit hosted by President Yoon. It's set to happen on June 4th and 5th. There will be 45 or more African nations coming to South Korea for the first summit of its kind.
This will serve as an opportunity to strengthen political, economic and social solidarity with African countries and to build favorable and practical cooperation in various economic security fields, particularly in key minerals, infrastructure, renewable energy, digital agriculture, health and tourism.
Under the national vision of becoming a global pivotal state, the Yoon Suk-yeol administration has emphasized strategic cooperation with the Global South, including Africa, since its early days. The top office says, adding to the Korea-Pacific Islands Summit last year, the Korea-Africa Summit will further expand the nation's strategic cooperation with the Global South. Kim Do-yeon, Arirang News.
The first medical school admission seats hike in nearly 3 decades will finally be realized here in Korea later this afternoon. The Korea Council for University Education is set to approve the proposed expansion for the coming year. Our Choi Min-jung tells us more.
The government's plan to raise the medical school admission quota is set to be officially confirmed on Friday afternoon at a meeting held by the Korean Council for University Education. During the meeting, the Council will deliberate over and confirm changes to the 2025 college admissions plan submitted by each university. Accordingly, this will mark the first medical quota increase in 27 years. The final results of the meeting will be announced on May 30th, and universities will announce updated admissions guidelines by the 31st. The government's stance is that there will no longer be room for negotiation for change in the future if the plan is confirmed. However, some national universities have been rebelling against the government's plan by refusing to reflect the quota hike in their school regulation amendments. The Education Ministry explained that this will not have any impact. The Medical Professors Association for Korea also plans to hold a press conference in front of the Supreme Court on Friday to oppose the plan and submit a petition. There have been strong protests from people within the medical community against expanding medical school admissions since the plan was announced on February 20th. More than 90% of resident doctors have left their workplaces, and almost 3,000 residents are no longer eligible for next year's certification exam. Medical school professors have also submitted resignations or leave of absence requests. Choi Min-jung, Arirang News.
Korean dramas on over-the-top media services are keeping viewers across the globe satisfied and entertained, especially in the month of May. What's so special about them? We're joined by Jason Veschervies. Welcome back.
Hello, thank you for having me.
Thanks for joining us. I have to say, the drama Queen of Tears and Lovely Runner have been by far the most popular K-dramas in the first half of 2024. Please do introduce us briefly to what these dramas are about for our viewers who haven't heard of them.
Yeah, no, it's been an interesting year because we've got two Korean dramas that are performed, very, very well on local streaming platforms and television or cable channels. We've got Queen of Tears, which, centers on a chaebol heiress and the relationships that she develops with the son of farmers, who's very, very talented, and it reached a rating of 24.8%. Moving past or surpassing Crash Landing on You, and making it the highest or third highest rated series on cable TV. So you can always tell a show that's doing well. You walk around and you can hear songs and the OST kind of blaring onto the streets, and that's very much the case here. It's the talk of the town. Everyone's been talking about it. And, this was produced by one of the local studios here in Korea, one of the main or major companies that have been hugely instrumental to Korea's kind of growth in K content over the last 2 decades. And then we've got Lovely Runner as well, which stars Byung Woo-seok and Kim Hae-yoon, which is also doing very well. It's somewhat different because this show, it hasn't attracted the same kind of ratings, but the fandom has been, it's been truly extraordinary. It's certainly attracting those in their 30s and their 40s as well. It's based on a web novel called Tomorrow's Best. It was also serialized as a webtoon, underscoring the sheer popularity of web comics and novels that are frequently being used to produce content, particularly by the streaming services. And it has all the ingredients that you associate with Korean dramas. You've got attractive leads, tragedy, time travel, and nostalgia. It follows this woman. She's an aspiring film director. Tragedy strikes, and she finds solace in the songs of this particular singer, and then he finds himself in a tragic accident, and they're able to kind of basically go back in time. And so, what I'm noticing here is that these are the kind of shows that have traditionally done quite popular in Korea. Certainly with regards to Queen of Tears, which looks at kind of social classes, romances, and this is a kind of a genre that's done very well, spanning many, many years. And more recently, we've seen kind of the more genre-driven stuff. So I think it's quite telling now that we're seeing kind of two broadly two different trends. We're seeing the genre-driven content that has been very popular on Netflix. Squid Game is a great example of that. And then we're also seeing the local streamers kind of fighting back with content that has been popular in Korea and overseas for a long time. And that's what we're seeing with Lovely Runner and Queen of Tears.
All right, these are, you said it, traditional and nostalgia-driven dramas that are not too mind-blowing. But how are they so popular in other countries? I mean, they have been popular here in the country, but how is that working in other countries?
Yeah, no, with regards to Hallyu, if you look at the popularity of Hallyu over the last 2 decades, it started essentially in Asia. And so these are the kind of shows that I think have done quite well in, Southeast Asia and throughout the whole region. And that's true here. We're seeing particularly Lovely Runner kind of being #1 on one of the streaming platforms, Viki, in several different countries. And not just Asia, actually. That's the great thing about Korean content. It was Squid Game, it was Parasite, and before that, Train to Busan. It was kind of show or movies or shows that were very much kind of reliant on genre to kind of really kind of carry the story. But now, because of the popularity of other dramas and also the way algorithms work on these streaming platforms, is introducing a kind of range of kind of different content, Korean content to viewers overseas. And so, yeah, we even see these kind of shows, Lovely Runner, Queen of Tears, which have, done quite popular, well, are very, very popular in Korea and have done so for years. We're seeing them kind of breaking through into overseas territories as well.
Right. We also have to talk about the newest Korean dramas on streaming services like Uncle Samshik and The 8 Show. Now, what's notable about these films is that the film directors are continuing to work on their miniseries. Let's talk about that. Is this a new trend?
Yes and no. It's new in a sense that this didn't happen 10, 15 years ago, but after Netflix kind of entered the system, entered the industry, it has completely transformed it. If you look at some of the most popular shows on Netflix, Squid Game, is a great example. Hwang Dong-hyuk is he's a filmmaker. He made films such as The Fortress, Silenced, Miss Granny, which actually was a film that, it was popular here, but the remakes broke out internationally. So, we're seeing more of that now. Han Jae-rim's new show, I think has been quite, it's been really, The 8 Show has been quite interesting. It's kind of emulating very much to some extent the Squid Game. And then we have Uncle Samshik, which is directed by Shin Yeon-sik, who is a very famous writer in Korean cinema. He also directs films. He's behind movies such as The Avian Kind. He's actually worked quite a lot in independent cinema. So it's interesting that he's actually moving or migrated over to streaming platforms. And so that's something that has happened over the last few years, and we're seeing more of that. And a lot of these shows, The 8 Show by Han Jae-rim, again, you can just, you look at it, production values are excellent. As with Uncle Samshik, these shows are very handsomely produced. Clearly, these directors know exactly what they're doing.
Right.
And so they're kind of using their expertise that they've gained through working in the film industry for 2 decades or more. And they're bringing that to the streaming content and being able to kind of, I guess kind of raise the bar. We've seen that with American content years and years ago. The Band of Brothers is a famous example. This kind of prestige content, almost watching a movie for each episode that you watch of these shows. And that's true of very much The 8 Show and also Uncle Samshik, Squid Game and various others as well.
All right, lots to binge watch this weekend. Thank you, Jason, so much for your time today. We appreciate it.
No worries. Thank you for having me.
The U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission on Thursday approved the listing of Ethereum spot ETFs, potentially allowing trading later this year. While Thursday's announcement is a major step forward for the second largest cryptocurrency by market cap, the regulator must approve the S1 filings of ETF issuers before investors can actually buy them. The listing of the Ethereum spot ETF was filed by several asset management companies, including BlackRock. The decision also comes about 4 months after the Bitcoin spot ETF was approved back in January.
Good morning, I'm Kim Seong, and now we turn off to stories from around the world. We begin today in the North Mexico state of Nuevo León, where a stage collapse at a political campaign event on Wednesday evening killed 9 people and injured 50. The state's governor, Samuel Garcia, said on social media that 8 adults and 1 child have died, while many more needed surgery or treatment at local clinics. The collapse happened in the city of San Pedro Garza Garcia at an event attended by Jorge Alvarez Maynez, the presidential candidate for the centrist Citizens Movement Party. He said in an interview that the accident was unexpected, saying a gale came, a sudden wind, and unfortunately it collapsed the stage, resulting in a fatal accident. Video footage shows a stage structure suddenly falling forward toward the crowd. Mexico's Interior Minister said that the armed forces were at the scene to provide support, while Governor Garcia warned residents to keep safe from strong thunderstorms in the area. Now to the US, where a political consultant has been fined $6 million for being behind automated calls that used artificial intelligence to impersonate American President Joe Biden's voice. 54-year-old Steve Kramer, a veteran political consultant who mainly worked for Democrats, was indicted in New Hampshire by Federal Communications Commission on Thursday for scam calls he set up to defraud voters in violation of a federal caller ID law. New Hampshire's Attorney General charged Kramer with 13 misdemeanor counts of impersonation of a candidate and 13 felony counts of voter suppression. The robocall reportedly went out to thousands of New Hampshire voters in January, just before the state's first presidential primary, and told voters to stay home and save their votes for the November election. To the UK now, where a Member of Parliament received praise from the Prime Minister and a standing ovation from colleagues after he returned to office after losing his hands and feet to sepsis. 57-year-old MP Craig McKinley returned to Parliament on Wednesday, 5 months after his arms and legs were amputated. He had spent 16 days in an induced coma after he began to feel unwell last September. Prime Minister Rishi Sunak praised McKinley, calling him an inspiration, while Speaker Lindsay Hoyle made an exception to allow clapping in Parliament. McKinley said he wanted to be known as the first bionic MP, as he was welcomed back to the House of Commons with prosthetic limbs. The European Space Agency on Thursday released new images taken by Euclid Space Telescope. Astronomers mapped dozens of rogue planets floating in space using the Euclid Space Telescope to study a distant region of the Milky Way. Images include the star-forming region Messier 78 in the Orion constellation, shrouded in interstellar dust, as well as Abell 2390, a giant conglomeration of more than 50,000 Milky Way-like galaxies. Coming less than a year since the Euclid Space Telescope was launched, the ESA called the 5 images unprecedented and a treasure trove. The ESA launched the billion-dollar observatory project last year with a 6-year mission to create a 3-dimensional map of the cosmos.
Good
Good morning. Depending on what parts of the country you'll be in, you'll have either a rainy day or sunny summer conditions, or neither. Starting with the rain, eastern parts of the country will see spotty showers and passing rain with thunderstorms, but Jeollado provinces and parts of Gyeongsangdo will have more summer warms with strong UV rays. Afternoon highs will be hovering above 30 degrees Celsius with sunshine. The East Coast will see highs in the upper teens today with that rainfall. Meanwhile, the capital area will be cloudy and breezy, taking a nice break from the sunshine and the heat today. Seoul gets up to 25, Gwangju topping out at 30 degrees Celsius. Gyeongju will have highs that are 10 degrees lower than yesterday at 23 degrees. And tomorrow looks to be a cloudy one as well. Then there's rain in the forecast on Sunday afternoon from the capital, spreading to the rest of the country through early Monday. With that in mind, let's take a look at the international weather conditions.
We thank you for watching New Day at Arirang. We'll be back next Monday at the same time, 9 a.m. Korea time.
Welcome. (24시간) 불이 꺼지지 않는 나라, 감당할 수 있겠니? 한국에 오면 먹어야죠. 먹어도 끝이 없는 나라, 감당할 수 있겠니?
The president also remains committed to boosting Korea's ties with its global partners on the sidelines of this latest
to discuss the current security environment.
The United Nations most powerful body on global security
expressing hope stock markets around the world have taken a hit amid speculation that the US Federal Reserve
Arirang.
하나, 둘, 셋.
Hey, Mr. Cupid, look my way. Make sure you listen to what I say. I may be stupid or quite naive.
끝없이 쏟아지는 포토스팟. 휴대폰 한 대로 감당할 수 있겠니?
Arrow straight through my heart.
웰컴. 엄청난 에너지를 춤으로 뿜어내는 나라. 감당할 수 있겠니? 한국에 오면 먹어야죠. 먹어도 끝이 없는 나라. 감당할 수 있겠니?
Bring a new type of news show. New insights, new styles, and new topics every day.
We are News Generation.
Bringing news just for you. It's Friday, May 24th here in Seoul. I'm Song Yoo-jin, and this is News Generation. Joining us today is Choi Ji-hee.
Happy Friday.
Happy Friday, and Brooke Prince.
Hello, lovely to be here.
Lovely to have you. Now, both are here to speak on behalf of those in their 20s and 30s. As usual, we're going to start with our news feed, which covers different hashtags and news items that have been trending online over the past 24 hours. Let's start with the latest in tech. Samsung Electronics is set to unveil its AI-equipped Galaxy Z Fold 6 and Galaxy Z Flip 6 models, along with its first smart ring, the Galaxy Ring, in July. Citing industry insiders, local media reported on Thursday that these new models will be introduced at the company's Galaxy Z Series Unpack event on July 10th in Paris. Samsung will also reveal the latest models of its Galaxy Watch and its wireless earphones, the Galaxy Buds, at the event. Now to the latest in the feud between HYBE and Min Hee-jin, the CEO of HYBE's subsidiary label Adore. HYBE has chosen candidates to replace Min as CEO, as well as Adore's current board of directors. HYBE's Chief Financial Officer Lee Kyung-jun and Chief Human Resources Officer Kim Joo-young are likely candidates for the board, while Chief Security Officer Lee Jae-sang is expected to be named the new CEO. HYBE says the CEO position has yet to be decided, though, and that the roles of the three candidates will be disclosed once finalized. Now, finally, Korean comedian turned DJ Yoon Sung-ho, known for performing while being dressed as a monk and incorporating Buddhist mantras in his performance, has been asked to exclude religious elements from his upcoming performance in Singapore next month. The nightclub hosting the event announced on Thursday that Yoon's performance will proceed without monk's robes, religious instruments, or music related to Buddhist chants. Now, this decision follows a statement made on Facebook by Singapore's Minister for Home Affairs on Wednesday, warning that local police would take action if Yoon's performance included elements deemed offensive to the Buddhist community and unacceptable. The country's Buddhist Federation also urged authorities to ban the performance, arguing that Yoon, not being an ordained monk, should not wear monk's robes on stage. Now, here in the country, Yoon has gained many young followers and has been welcomed by Korea's Choge Order, the largest Buddhist sector in the country, for making Buddhism more accessible to the younger generation. However, his performances have also drawn criticism from Buddhist groups and political figures, for example, in Malaysia, where he performed earlier this month as hurting the feelings of the Buddhist community. So here in the studio, I want to ask you guys, this has been a really controversial issue over the past few weeks. Where do you stand on this controversy?
Well, on the one hand, I understand why some people support him because apparently he has inspired a lot of young followers to get more interested in the religion, which I think is always a good thing. But on the other hand, speaking as someone of Jewish faith, I've certainly experienced discrimination. I've experienced some offensive comments. So I would hate to, invalidate anyone's feelings if they feel offended. But at the same time, I do think that his intentions are pure. So as long as he keeps an open mind and an open heart and listens to what people have to say, listens to their feelings, then maybe he can make adjustments as necessary in whatever countries he goes to, just to make sure that everyone feels comfortable.
Right. I think making adjustments and communicating with other countries or those in religious Buddhist communities abroad is really important, because he is and he has plans to perform in countries besides Korea. And I think you mentioned a very good point. Yoon didn't do these performances out of bad intentions, and like performing Buddhist songs related to Buddhist mantras and also being dressed up as a monk, that really didn't go against the religious doctrine. So I think, he didn't have bad intentions. Now, what are your thoughts on this, Ji-hee?
Well, adding on to what Brooke has just said, I think Yoon, well, by the way, he's also known as Nujin Sunim, meaning monk in Korean, should be really welcomed with open arms, as he's using religion to engage with more young people. And I think he's helped revive the popularity of religion among young South Koreans.
Definitely.
It's a traditional religion, and he's made it more approachable. And the Buddhist mantras that he uses in his performances, such as "This too shall pass," "We will overcome," mixed with beats of EDM, definitely make his show more motivational and full of positive energy. And it all comes down to freedom of expression and religion. And I think as long as he doesn't cross the line, offend others or other religions or this religion itself, I think he should be respected for what he's doing.
Right. Keeping the line is always important. And I think that we could see like more positive changes of the younger generation being more friendlier to Buddhism or other religions if we get to see these movements. And that was our news feed for this Friday. So we're now going to move on to our main discussion of the day. And today we're going to talk about culture. So if you're someone who enjoys visiting art galleries and museums in your free time, you're in for a treat for today's episode. Now, for art enthusiasts, art fairs are actually regarded as the highlight of the season. These events serve as trade shows, offering visitors the opportunity to not only see works by a range of artists and maybe even buy something of their own. So we've actually had some of Korea's biggest art fairs happening recently in the country, which is one of the reasons why we chose to discuss this topic today.
That's right. So we're seeing a growing number of art fairs in the country. And especially back in 2022, South Korea's art market saw a surge in activity with the introduction of free Seoul, which I will talk about a little bit more later. And in the first half of this year, 2024, numerous art fairs were organized, such as the Korea Galleries Art Fair and the Busan Annual Market of Art, as well as Daegu International Art Fair and Art Busan, and many more. And by 2022, the country hosted a total of 72 art fairs, with 19,000 artists participating and over 1 million attendees coming to these shows as well. And approximately 30% of the art market's economic scale is attributed to art fairs, excluding free Seoul, though, because it does not disclose its transaction volume. And the prevailing themes driving the performance of these art fairs are young and emerging, contributing to a positive trend in transaction volume. Although the market overall seems to be cooling down a little bit, while major homegrown fairs did not achieve record-breaking results, the overall transaction volume, however, was positively influenced by emerging young artists, as well as a growing number of young collectors.
Right, so we're definitely seeing the art market becoming young in terms of both producers of art and also consumers of art. Now, Brooke, would you like to add on something too?
Yes, so although Ji-hee mentioned that the art market has been a little sluggish, there have been concerns that it's been slowing down, the art fair season has been very successful so far. The Seoul auction announced that the total winning bids across 16 months reached 10 billion won. That's about $7.3 million, a pretty huge number. And then the Galleries Art Fair, which opened from April 3rd to April 7th in COEX here in Seoul, it also attracted a whopping 58,000 million visitors. And then I also want to introduce Art ONO, which stands for One and Only. And their goal, as you can guess from that name, is they wanted to really shake things up. They wanted to make a splash in the art scene. And the reason why they wanted to do that is because they noticed that most art fairs really showcased more established artists, but their goal was to highlight the work of, like we've been mentioning, young and emerging artists. That's kind of our key words for today. That's what they really wanted people to see more of. And so I think we're seeing a lot of buzz around art fairs in general. So despite those concerns about a cooling market, I think we're seeing a lot of signs that it's being revitalized.
Right. So definitely we just talked about some major art fairs that took place here in the country and like the growing interest of young and emerging artists as well as consumers in art. So here in the studio, I want to ask you guys, as you're also part of this young and emerging generation, millennials and Gen Zs, are you also enjoying art? Is this something that you would like to do in your spare time or free time?
Oh, definitely. I am very passionate about art, and I enjoy expressing myself through various art mediums and colors, such as painting, drawing, and I also like visiting exhibitions as well, as you see in the pictures. Art's been an important part of my life, as I even chose it as one of my IB diploma subjects.
Really?
Yes, in high school, and held a graduation exhibition.
I see.
Yeah, I like drawing, and I often tell my close friends that if given the chance to live life again, I would choose to become an artist.
Really?
Yeah,
Wow.
although I'm not like skilled at it or anything.
I think you are actually.
You could absolutely still do it now.
Exactly. So I think I can still pursue art, and it's never too late to live my remaining life as an artist.
You can start
of any sort.
anytime.
Yeah, because there's no restriction of age when it comes to creativity.
Right.
Yeah, and these days, just like myself, many millennials are also enjoying going to art fairs and galleries. In the past, it didn't seem as accessible, but now with a lot of these small and big galleries and also social media, we could see different artists on social media as well, and I follow many of them too. So because of these more approachable art, I think many young audiences, as well as the general public, is paying more attention to this field.
Right. Definitely social media making art more accessible, more easily enjoyable, and also I think that you mentioned a very great point. Art in the past kind of seemed like something that's really hard and only like available for like a limited group of people, but nowadays we can definitely see more young people, for example, young couples choosing art galleries or museums as their go-to date spot. Now, Jihi is a passionate producer and also consumer of art. Now, what about you, Brooke?
Sorry to disappoint. Unlike Jihi, I am not much of an artist myself.
Me too, so.
I took an art class once in college, and I loved it, but I have to say, of all of my classes, it was the hardest by far. I put in so many hours of work, and so it really gave me a newfound respect and appreciation for artists and how much dedication they have to put into their craft. That being said, I have not yet gone to an art fair here in Korea. It's something I would like to do.
Yeah, we should.
Fun, especially because I've heard that amongst young people, millennials, it is a very popular, date spot, place to go with friends. So it's something I would like to do. I would also one day like to have my own collection. My older brother actually has, he started his own collection. He's kind of a millennial who's made an impact on the art scene. He's been funding some art pieces by young and emerging artists. One of them is named Von Wong. He does environmental pieces, and a lot of them have become really viral. And that's something I want to talk about because I think that's how a lot of young people actually get into the art world to begin with. They see these amazing pieces on social media, they find artists that they like, and they start following their work. And so I think that's one really cool thing about the way art works today with technology. It's bringing more people into it. It's certainly helped me get more interested, and who knows, maybe one day I'll become an artist like Jihi, or maybe I'll start my own collection.
Right. So you mentioned about like millennials and Gen Z is also now taking a step further, not only from going to art galleries to watch or enjoy art, but also becoming like avid collectors of art. So is this something that we're seeing trending among our generation? generation?
Oh, definitely. So according to the organizer of the gallery's art fair, which is the oldest event of its kind in Korea, as it was founded in 1979, they reported that the fair attracted, like Brooke mentioned earlier, 58,000 visitors during its run in early April. But it wasn't just the visitors. They've also noticed a significant increase in demand for the works of promising young talents with reasonable price tags, especially from social media savvy millennials and Gen Z collectors. And MZers, because they're tech savvy, they are the major force in the art market, and they're able to purchase artworks at affordable prices through advanced information searches online. And galleries are also promoting these works by engaging with them through social media and other online communication channels to make sure that they're able to reach out to them in easier ways.
Right. I think I also saw like a report from a global auction company that out of the new art collectors during the first half of last year, actually almost 40% were millennials and Gen Zs.
Amazing.
So I think that's definitely a trend, becoming a trend among our generation. Now, Brooke, what are some other reasons why our generation is passionately collecting art these days?
Well, we've been talking about it a little bit. Social media has a huge impact. It's changing the way that we consume and appreciate art. And in general, we're just seeing a trend of this intersection between art and technology. And so whereas before you used to have to go to an auction, you used to have to directly purchase art from a gallery. You don't have to do that anymore. If you are a tech-savvy young millennial or Gen Zer, you can just easily use a digital marketplace. You can also utilize online platforms to compare price points. Jihee mentioned more affordable art collecting. That's become a trend these days, where you can go online, find reasonably priced art for your collection, and get started earlier on. So once again, in the past, usually this hobby was seen as kind of a luxury thing. It was seen as something that only the ultra rich could participate in. It's not like that anymore. It's much more accessible. You can get your foot in the door at an earlier age, and there are many more avenues to do so, which I think is really exciting.
Exactly. Some very great points made by our panelists. So from our discussion, we can see that millennials and Gen Zs are becoming active consumers and also collectors of art. So we also asked our viewers whether they also enjoy going to art galleries or art fairs and why, and here's what 3 of them had to say. So if we look at the comments, James says art fairs and galleries are important and can be indicative of a vibrant society that values heritage and innovation, possibly even an indicator of economic conditions where citizens have access to diverse and creative training opportunities. Rex Alex says, when I have the time, I enjoy going to art fairs and visiting galleries. It's a great way to de-stress and have your mind and creativity stimulated. More importantly, you get to appreciate art more and have a fresh perspective of the world around you. Tasnia says, I love art galleries and fairs because it lets my inner artistic side and my inner child communicate with the art pieces and feel emotions. So some very interesting comments from our viewers on how much they love art and why. And now to delve even deeper into our generation's love for art, we're now going to include an expert to our talks. We'll be right back, so stay tuned. So today we're joined by Choi Jae-yoon, who works as the manager of an art gallery in Busan. Welcome, Jae-yoon, to the show. Hello, Jae-yoon, can you hear us? I think we're having some audio connection problems, but let's connect to our interview once again. Hi, Jae-yoon, can you hear us well? Well, I guess that we will connect back to our live interview expert once she's fully connected. So in the meantime, let's talk about more about these exciting major art fairs or events that we could see throughout the year, as we're less than halfway through 2024. So please, Jihee, walk us through on some of the events that we can look forward to.
Sure. So let's check out the screen together, first of all, to see which exciting art events are coming up in the next few months. So as you see on the screen, there are several events coming up. First of all, there's the Art Festa. This is the first ever expo-style art fair. That's hosted in various cities nationwide, including Seoul and Jeju as well, respectively in June and August.
Great.
Now, their aim is to popularize art and unite everyone through a festival of art. And there's also the ASEA for the Asian Students and Young Artists Art Festival being held from July to August. Now, this is an Asian art fair for individuals aged 35 and under, as well as those above 36 as well. And the aim of this fair is to discover young artists who are still in university or graduate schools in an Asian country, as well as hidden artists in the older age group.
Great.
And it will select about 500 artists and display around 1,000 art pieces. And of course, there's Kiev, Korea's first international art fair.
The big event for art
big
lovers.
Event. We should probably go to this one.
Maybe we should together.
I'm looking at this whole list. Let's go to
writing it down.
We should. So this has helped Seoul become a vibrant art hub in the global art market. And there's also, last but not least, the Freeze Seoul, as I mentioned earlier. This is an annual contemporary art fair that was first held in 2003, but it also expanded to Seoul back in 2022.
I see. So a lot of interesting events that we can expect. Now, Brooke, are there like any additional art fairs, exhibitions that you would like to visit and you would like to recommend to our viewers?
Yes, although it's crazy that it's almost halfway through 2024.
Time flies.
It really does fly. There is still plenty of left to see if you are interested in art. Korea is planning a nationwide umbrella festival called the K-Art Festival this fall, and it will combine the schedules of the Gwangju and Busan Biennales, as well as the Kiev Seoul and the Freeze Seoul. So there will be lots of different schedules that you can go to. They're going to promote them all as one campaign, and we've been talking all day today in the studio about how we want to go together to an art fair, especially because I've never been to one. Have you ever been to one before?
Well, I've never been to an art fair before. I've been to exhibitions to cover like stories and make news reports, but I don't think that I went to and fully enjoyed like an art fair. So Jihi, we have Ji to count on, who is an artist herself.
Definitely.
Right. So I hope our viewers who watch today's episode also have a chance to visit art galleries or art fairs that will interest you. That's all we have for today, but we'll be here every day from 9:30 to 10 a.m. Korea time, bringing you more topics young people are talking about. Special thanks today to Ji-hee.
Thank you.
And Brooke Prince.
Thank you so much.
And thank you everyone for watching. Have a lovely weekend. We'll see you on Monday. We are News Generation.
하나, 둘, 셋.
Hey, Mr. Cupid, look my way. Make sure you listen to what I say. I may be stupid or quite naive.
끝없이 쏟아지는 포토스팟. 휴대폰 한 대로 감당할 수 있겠니?